recorder, and I'm going to turn on. There's some noise in the background somewhere. Who's sitting in an office that's full of people talking? Anyone? Rochelle, are you sitting by yourself?
Yes, I'm by myself and I'm on mute.
Cool. Didn't I see you sell a couple of properties this last few weeks or take a couple listings?
Yeah, I got one sold last month and I'm hopefully going to get this other one closed by the end of the year or the first part of next year. So,
Isn't that great?
yes. Yes, I
So are
have to keep
you?
my foot on the gas though.
Yes, yeah, I've heard that kind of stuff. Absolutely. But isn't it interesting how when you put yourself out there, things happen?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
for the so the world knows Rochelle's kind of new with our company, new in the business, and you're really ending up the year with two or three closed transactions that in a fairly short period of time.
Well, yeah,
So
since I did the coaching with MFO.
good. That changed things for you? Don't you just love it?
Yes.
Good job. Congratulations. Ruth, good morning or
Good morning.
afternoon.
Hi, AJ.
Hey Ruth. Oh my
Good
gosh,
to
so
see
good
you
to
again. Oh
you too.
my God.
Been a minute.
Wow, this is like old home week.
I know. I know. We're the OGs from Masters.
That's right.
Yes.
All right, good stuff. Okay, so let's move along here. I want to reward the people that showed up on time. AJ, I appreciate you joining us today. AJ and I go back a long time. I guess not quite when Masters was formed, but a little bit after that. And he's had a great career, and just he's like at the I think the jump off point to a spectacular career. So I wanted to bring him in and just get his perspective today, because he's not in the real estate business, but he's in the marketing and developing people business and developing ideas. So I wanted to pick his brain today. So AJ, give us a little bit of the Reader's Digest version of your life to date, and don't spend all the time you said you were going to spend.
Yeah, of course. I dropped out of college and I started working at the Mike Ferry organization when I was like 17, 18 years old. I had a cousin who was a coach for Mike for a bit. And I think that's essentially when I met Neil Schwartz. And then I worked with my cousin for a little bit after that. And then after that, I started working for Neil and I started working with Neil on his blog, neilschwartz.net, while at the same time also becoming a real estate agent, kind of, sort of. So I did that for a little bit. And then I started having interest in marketing more than I had real estate. And then eventually I started a career in digital marketing. I had another friend named another Neil, a guy named Neil Patel, that got me into search engine optimization and online brand building. So I started working with corporate brands like Salesforce, Airbnb, like 2009, 2010. Then I left working with these corporate brands and started working with personal brands in about 2012. 2012 to 2015, I had a joint venture with a woman named Kimberly Snyder, who was a celebrity nutritionist. I helped take her blog from like 30,000 visitors a month, people going to her website, to like 500,000 visitors a month by applying the same corporate marketing strategies I was doing with these tech companies with a human, a person. And then that's when I realized that there's this massive opportunity that I feel like is unfolding right in front of me, which is now called the creator economy. And the creator economy is essentially this economy that exists of people that are creating content that gives them attention. And that attention is this currency that is now traded in today, modern time, that's used to get clients, sell products, get services, build relationships, grow businesses, and honestly, even develop oneself as a better, more impactful human being. And I've worked with people like in the real estate industry in 2015 to 2020. I worked with a guy named Josh Flagg from a show called $1 Million Listing. I was even on an episode of Million Dollar Listing for a couple minutes here and there.
Oh,
And
I didn't know
today,
you were a star.
I had my 5 minutes, if you will. And then now I have a company called the Limitless Company, and I work with people who are thought leaders, and I help them to package their expertise and create ideas that can fly on social media.
That's great. Well, we had talked about some of this, and actually we reconnected in the last 12 months because you're writing a book called Guru right now, or you've written a book called Guru. It's being published.
Yeah, Guru Inc. So it's like I grew up in an environment where my family, they're part of these, the spiritual kind of thing, and there were gurus that we looked up to. And then I realized as I grew up, I kept attracting or being around gurus. Like Mike Ferry, for example, was his first guru that I worked for. My cousin was a guru. Neil Schwartz was a guru. So I always had these like gurus or these like mentor like figures that I came across. Neil Patel, a variety of different people that I've met, and I've met gurus at different stages of my career that kept helping me advance further and further and further. And then over time, as I saw this creator economy emerging, and I found myself working with what are called personal brands, I essentially realized that anybody in any professional endeavor is going up these stages in their careers. There's 5 different stages that they go through. So the first stage is when you're a generalist, like when you're first in your field, you're kind of learning the ropes. Then you become a specialist. Like imagine if you're a specialist in condos or in a certain neighborhood. Then you rise up to becoming an authority, where you essentially become an originator of content, of value in your field. And then above that, you become a guru. And then that's when you become like the go-to person in your niche. And then beyond that, you become the guru's guru. And I developed this model basically looking at this world of the Mike Ferry world. And I saw like Mike Ferry was his guru's guru. And then people like Neil Schwartz was a guru within that world. And then I realized that that model is applicable across every field. And now we're living in this environment where I see all these people trying to rise to the top, where you're trying to become the Tony Robbins of your industry, if you will, and that there is these stages that you go through. And that's what led to Guru Inc., building a business around your expertise.
You present it very, very well, even better than as I was reading the book. So that's great. When you're saying this, though, my question to you is, generalists want to move to specialists and an authority immediately. We used to kid around and say an agent that takes 3 listings goes into the coaching business and becomes a Mike Ferry guy, right?
Yeah.
We say this stuff all the time. And so what did you find? How do you keep a guy or gal that needs to be a generalist in the general category long enough to become a specialist, and then the specialist and to go on? What did you find in this?
It's like anytime you go into a new field, you got to learn the ropes. You got to learn from other people, and you got to learn about like what it is that you're most interested in, because sometimes people go into things wanting to get rich, and then they do the things that they think are going to make them rich, and then they get bored of doing it, so they don't get good enough to actually be the kind of guy that gets rich. So it's like when you're a generalist, you got to look at that as this exploratory phase where you get an opportunity to really feel into what you're deeply interested in. And then when you find what that is, you start to specialize in that. And then you go into this specialization of your craft and get really good at that, and you become that expert. And then what typically happens is when you're an expert and you're around all these other experts, you're still trying to like copy other people. But then at some point you learn enough from other people that you start to create your own thing. I always use like Kobe Bryant as an example because Kobe Bryant's a guy that has learned from a variety of other different players, whether it was Jordan or Magic or even soccer players. He's learning from all these different people and then taking all of that and kind of forming it into his own thing. And that's essentially what happens is the authority is somebody that authors their own way of doing something. And then it's about being that guy that's doing that thing in that certain way that other people then start watching. And then you start to get this like followership of people watching you do that own thing.
So, what advice can you give people that are rising up like that and want to take that path? I see it. I appreciate it because you've helped make it more crystal clear to me on those situations, because we have people all over us. We were talking earlier today is you can't ride a dog that is chasing two squirrels never catches either. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we, but I could tell you that you get it. You laugh about it. We both commiserate about, okay, we know those people. When you talk to those people, they look at you like you're the devil.
Yeah. It's true. It's like the folly of all entrepreneurs is that they have all these like shiny objects of things that they're doing, but it's like anything that you're trying to get really good at. It's one, wanting to be really good at it, wanting to be world class at it. If that's what you want, if you want to be that, right? Like, so it's one, having the desire to be really, really good at it. And two, realizing that it does take discipline. And discipline is something I hated for a very long time. And it's kind of like this like counterintuitive thing in some sense, where discipline is when you do things that need to get done even when you don't feel like it, kind of thing, which feels like it's the opposite of the freedom that everybody wants, where the irony is that when you have discipline you are ultimately creating that freedom because you need the discipline to kind of like create what Neil Schwartz did, what you did with Masters. And like, man, like you would go every day to work, same time, you have your certain like 3 pairs of
Same
shoes that you'd
way.
always wear. You do it like you had it on the clockwork, and that's why you built.
Same breakfast, go the same way. If there was a traffic jam, I would get lost.
You are Mr. Discipline.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like that kind of foundational thing that you need so that you are like, okay, this is a squirrel I'm going after, and I'm going to go after it even when I don't feel like it. And you go after it as hard as you can, as best as you can.
Got it. So before we go further, any questions right now on what AJ's talking about? Need some more clarity on it? Discipline's a big one. How do you get it? Do you get it, AJ?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Lito.
Hey, AJ, Lito Hernandez here. I just wonder, like, as far as like digital and marketing yourself, like, there's so many avenues. I like how you broke it down: the general, the specialist, the authority. Like, you kind of post, and it doesn't get the engagement you want. Like, what would you be your advice for somebody beginning, starting out, not knowing which avenue to get that audience to support their business via social media?
I think there's an approach that you got to go through, which is you got to plan out what you're going to be doing. So understanding that you're essentially, when you're looking at something like social media, is that social media mirrors television, and it's similar to television, but it's different. Television, you have 5 people that go to the coffee shop, they go to the apartment, and you have Friends, you have How I Met Your Mother, you have Seinfeld. Social media is similar to that in that it works like you're creating a format, you're creating your own show. And this show is a place for you to demonstrate your own expertise. Think of like $1 Million Listing. When a person goes on the $1 Million Listing show as a real estate agent, the majority of their business is coming from the fact that they're on TV for, 3-4 months out of the year. It's not to say they don't do anything else in the other time, but a big part of it happens because people are watching them demonstrate their negotiating power, their wit, their skills, their deep knowledge of the market. And you got to think of it like social media is a platform that allows you to do that. But you also have to understand the mechanics of the fact that you're not just there trying to promote yourself. You're there to create a valuable viewing experience for people. And when you do that, you're creating this experience. You get to show off what it is that you're doing in a way that's both entertaining and educational. And when you think of it as you're not just posting stuff to just post stuff, your goal is to create a show. By show, I don't mean that it needs to be this like polished thing. By show, I mean that you are a certain character. You have like certain types of sets. There's a certain like familiarity with each video that you're showing. And then people start to recognize you, and it even makes the algorithm's job easier for it to show your videos to the right people. The main problem that people have with social media is that they understand social media incorrectly. Social media is not in the business of bringing you your ideal customer. Social media is in the business of mass satisfaction. So when you're creating content, you want to create it in a way that appeals to not just your ideal customer, but also other groups of people that are interested. So taking $1 Million Listing or Selling Sunset, for example, that kind of content appeals to various groups of people. Yes, it appeals to affluent buyers. It also appeals to real estate agents of all sizes, shapes, and sizes. It also appeals to people that like the eye candy. It also appeals to people that like the drama. So the fact that you have this really wide appeal allows you to get that content in front of so many people. And in that audience of so many people are like a slew of your ideal customers. And that's really valuable to a real estate agent when your commission checks are, 10,000, 20,000, or even 100,000 if you're in the higher end markets.
Wow, AJ, that was really great. That was really great because I have a hard time like, okay, what do I post? What do I, because you kind of think about it like I want 100 likes or I want likes, but somebody told me like you got to just post to post you for creation, not to necessarily the likes per se or how many likes you got on the video or how many comments. It's just like you said, like act like you're your own channel. So thank you.
There's a couple of videos that you should watch on social. There's like this one woman that's a real estate agent that has this show where she's like playing hide and seek with the audience, where she shows a room and she's talking into a mic and she's like, guess where I am? And then she comes outside
I've
of the
seen that.
right. Like there's funny, creative ways. Like it's honestly a way for you to be creative. You're not just doing like a boring house tour, but it's how you could be creative. There's one kid that runs really fast through each room and talks really, really fast, right?
Yeah. I seen that one. That one's great. Yeah. So just trying to find your own niche on what you can continuously do to partner. Got it.
And I want to confirm, because the way, your examples are Selling Sunset or Millionaire Real Estate Agent. They have scripts, they have 4 cameras, they have, a bunch of the real estate. So if if Lito wanted to do something like that, how could he simply just record himself doing whatever Lito does? But not with, what I think I'm hearing is you want him to be an authoritarian on the subject he wants to talk about, but it's got to be presented in a kind of cute way.
Yeah, exactly. And
is that what you're saying?
Yes. And that's a good thing that you brought up, because you don't need that high production value. If you have a smartphone, you have literally what you need right then and there. You could enhance what you're doing by adding things like wireless mics, which are a couple $100. You have your smartphone, you have a tripod. And then if you wanted to look better, you could hire editors that are fairly affordable off of platforms like Upwork, where you could hire freelancers from different countries. And you don't need to do it. You can do it. So it just depends on what you want to invest in it. It doesn't mean that you have to invest tens of thousands of dollars a month, like sometimes some of my clients do. It could be like hundreds of dollars a month. This is part of your marketing budget. But the beauty is that when you're creating content and you're creating these videos in itself become shareable. So that even as you're door knocking or you're prospecting, you now have some kind of asset, which is now actually more interesting that you could share than a flyer or like a newsletter you're trying to get them to subscribe to. You could be like, oh, I just did this really interesting video that talked about, this home in this market. Let me just airdrop it to you real quick on your phone. And you're literally saying this to them right while you're door knocking with them. And it's a very low, easy like thing they could get. Boom, they got it. Or let me share this with you on your Instagram. What's your handle? I'll send it to you right now. They click it, they watch it right in front of you. Now they're more likely to see your future content. So it's like being proactive and thinking of these as like assets that you could use proactively to get people to see you and to perceive you, because that's what we're talking about. A lot of being a guru is a perception thing. So that when people perceive you over and over and over again in a certain way, they start to associate you as a person with what you want to be known for as an expert.
In my case, I just don't want to be known as another pretty face.
Hard to do, Neil.
Very cute. Thank you. Lito, did that help a little bit? Good. Excellent. Any other
Yeah, that was great.
questions? Any other questions? Tess, James. James, you do some stuff like this, but maybe you don't do enough of it.
I don't do enough.
Don't do
Oh,
enough.
Don't do
So
enough.
did you pick up anything from our conversation so far that might help you to do? So let me ask it a different way. The stuff you do is cute. It really is. It's very, very nice. And I don't mean cute in a negative way. I like it. It's humor and, gives you your stuff. But I guess the question is, do you not do it because you don't take the time and set the time aside? And I guess, AJ, that goes back to your discipline. If you're gonna do film, you got to do it every Tuesday. I mean, is that what you're saying, AJ?
It's like you develop skills to become an expert in your field. And then when you think about social media, that's also a field where you need to develop skills. And when you're trying to become famous in your niche, I'm not even talking about fame for like, on a global stage, but even if it's on a local stage, you still got to develop that on-camera presence. And when you're thinking about when you're creating content, whether it's thinking of the hook or how you're packaging your ideas, there's all these different skills that you got to develop, learn, get feedback from, and improve upon. Just like when you're a real estate agent and you're calling people on the phone, hey, I know your home expired and so, when do you plan on moving? Like that's something you practice and you go to your, productivity schools and you go to your morning script meetings. It's the same kind of concept that applies with social media. You could use AI like ChatGPT and Claude to help you craft scripts that are 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 2 minutes long, or whatever it is. You could practice it and then deliver it. And then over time, you're becoming better at it, right? So it's really the desire to wanting to become really good at your stage presence and unlocking the natural version of you. Just like when you're trying to use, Mike Ferry scripts or Neil Schwartz scripts, they feel like it's not you at first, but then you practice it, you memorize it, you internalize it, and you get better at delivering it.
When we do that, one of the things that becomes more and more and more important, because the script itself is only 7%, we're seeing that delivering it, the tonality, is as important or more important as anything else. It changes the delivery completely. So So any suggestions for us budding people to get started in? You've got 2 or 3 thoughts here. You've got the guru. So agents, all of us, if we're in the general, we need somebody to look up to, a coach. But I guess the question is there different types of coaches we're looking for? So if we're starting in the general, what are we looking for to decide what is best for us and we like the most? What would help us? What helped you? I mean, you did all kinds of interesting things in your a session?
Ascension. Yeah. Yeah, like because I first was in like sales at Mike Ferry organization and then into real estate, learning about different neighborhoods and then persuasion and um, you know, then it was like it's SEO, search engine optimization, it was this and that. And now I feel like I'm finally in this field that I really honed in on and love so much, which is this like creating shows for social media. And it NLP, like there's so much that went into it. I think it is I think a lot of what drove me to where I'm at today had to do with following what felt like was the right direction for me to go. It's something I loved and enjoyed. I was interested in, I would do it. And I think that plays a big role in it. And creating content, I think not even just the marketing aspect of it, but I think creating content is a personal development tool in itself because you're basically creating something of yourself and then putting it on public display for you to be critiqued and evaluated and judged. And doing that so many times is like exposure therapy. And that in itself will start to unlock a version of you where you stop caring about what other people think and you stop having imposter syndrome and you stop having these in my book I call it Volt, virus of limited thinking. And it's like you get this virus as you grow up from just like the different traumatic events that have happened. And by traumatic events, I don't mean something like really intense and crazy. Trauma is relative. Like when you're a child and you're 8, 9 years old and someone takes your lollipop, like that's a traumatic moment to that child. And that then starts to like burn into your mind and then become a problem and get triggered as an adult. So it's like as you create content and as you feel the scariness of being judged, it helps you break through all of that. So I think creating content in itself is an activity that is what allows you to explore your interests because then other people engage with you on it as well, whether it's like coworkers or other team members or like the general audience. And then you step into it and do more of it or go in a different direction.
So on that, prospecting and skills, how important, well, let me back up. Prospecting and skills are the basis of our industry. Agreed?
100%.
Okay. So if if you don't have the skills and you're not prospecting, it's difficult to convert business that you might get from social media, correct?
Oh yeah, totally.
So so you have to do this, you have to do the prospecting and skills before you do the social media because you'll get the business. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Of course. And I even called it at one point inbound prospecting as kind of the essence of what's happening. And it's like as you develop better and better sales skills and you want more people to talk to about and trying to close more deals, then you naturally that confidence naturally starts to feed into you even showing up on camera because now you become more magnetic because you want to attract people that you could talk to and close. And a lot of that really just comes down to you being so comfortable and so confident in developing your skills. You know how to talk to this kind of expired listing or this kind of for sale by owner or this kind of person that's really grumpy on the phone and how to navigate that really well. Like I took so much training from whether it was Neil Schwartz or Matthew Ferry or like the NLP training here and this and that, like all that stuff I realize plays such a critical role because NLP is really just the language of the imagination. And when you know how to speak to other people's imagination, you connect with them on this like deeper level. And a lot of what content creation is, whether it's for movies and TVs and film or social media with your phone, it's you saying things in a way that is programming people to see you in a certain way. Same thing when you're prospecting on the phone. You're getting them to see you in their mind as the solution, as like, oh, the other agents couldn't sell my home. I've tried so many. You're just like everybody else. And then you're reframing the way they perceive you into being a different person. So that fundamental skill that you create and develop with just prospecting and door knocking and phone calling translates extremely well, because all we're talking about here is communication, and it's your ability to communicate. The thing about social media is people see it as a marketing tool, but in reality, social media is a communication tool. It's just a new modern medium of communication. In the past, there was newspapers and TV and phone, and now we have the smartphone, and now we have social media. And now you could create a version of your message in a 30-second, 60-second video that then impacts people and makes people see you in a certain way. So at the end of the day, it's just being really, really good at communicating to a person.
This is great stuff. I really do appreciate it. Can we condense this? Go ahead, Tess, before I go into that.
Okay,
Tess,
so
Tess has a question.
I have a question, AJ.
Hey,
First of all,
Tess.
thank you for being here. So, since you're doing a lot of social media, what's the percentage of you having business, being given the business that you're looking for? What's the percentage with the
Are you
leads
saying
that
like,
you're getting?
are you speaking as far as like an ROI of social media, how much business
Right.
comes from social media?
Exactly.
So that conversation is probably like the biggest confusion in social media world, or any business owner that wants to do social media. And over time, I myself and one of my business advisors developed what we call a new way to measure the value of social media. We call it ROAC, return on attention created, because social media isn't something where it's black and white and you get customers right away. Social media is a way for you to create trust and to create leverage. And that trust and leverage is what becomes monetizable. It's kind of like that example that I shared with you. So if you create content now and you create it for months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, you start to develop this presence, and you will over time get people to want to do business with you because they saw you on social media. As you're building your presence on social media, you also have these really valuable assets. I've had plenty of people that I've gotten as clients because I shared an article with them or a video with them, a piece of content with them that then they read and started perceiving me differently because I created that content. I manually shared that content with them. That's why I'm saying, where when you're door knocking or you're talking to somebody on the phone, you could literally be like, oh, I have an Instagram where I share really valuable tips about the neighborhood or about the market or about the area that gives you this exact thing. Let me share it with you. Let me airdrop it with you. So it's about being proactive with how you're using social media. And then over time, it has this trust building factor, this leverage building factor. Because even homeowners are wanting to know how you're going to market their property. So even that becomes something that becomes a leverage in your conversation when you're negotiating with them. I have an audience on social media, so I have distribution so that I could show your home to more people.
Now, I would think, this is my opinion, Neil. Okay, I would think with the Instagram right now, that's when because I track the followers for Instagram, because the more that you give value to the people, to the public, then you will know who are your followers. Would that be true, AJ?
The followers, that was true.
Instagram?
It was true in old social media, but new social media has changed.
Okay.
It's changed from what was called the social graph, where your content was shown to people that follow you or that are like directly related to them. And it's changed to what's called an interest graph, meaning that your content could be shared with people that are not connected with you whatsoever, mainly because they're interested in that kind of content. And how the algorithm knows that they're interested in that kind of content is because of how they're using the platform, the videos they're watching. So for example, if someone is starting to watch videos of homes and the types of homes that are for sale, they're more likely to be shown more videos that are like that. So if you're creating videos like that, then it's more likely for that to be shared with them. This is what's referred to as organic growth.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
That's great.
That's the algorithm, right?
Yeah, exactly. And people are also searching more as well. People are searching social media more than they're as similarly to how they used to search on Google. So for the longest time, realtors would want to get their website to rank #1 on Google for, Irvine Homes for Sale or Newport Homes for Sale or Covina Homes for Sale or whatever it is. Whereas now a lot of people are even looking on social media for that. So if you're creating content and you're optimizing it for what people are searching for, again, it's not something that you post today and then you get business from it tomorrow. But as you accrue this library of content, you are increasing your chances of being discovered by somebody, in addition to you being able to take that and sharing it manually with people.
And that's what you call branding.
Yeah. That's like the through line of everything, is that you're building a brand. A brand is, I love Jeff Bezos and how he defines what a brand is, because a brand has so many definitions, but a brand is essentially what people say about you when you're not in the room. A brand is leverage. So when you have a strong brand, then people are going to choose you, because everything in the world is designed to be very efficient, whether it's the human brain or it's algorithms. So if you can make it so a person doesn't have to think about something, then the person's going to do it. Like if you go to a grocery store, you're naturally going to want to choose the C&H brand of the sugar because you've been seeing it for decades versus this new contender, right? So similarly to what you guys do and what you're trying to do is you have a personal brand. The more a person has exposure to you, they start to associate you in their mind with that expertise that you want them to have. That's why it's important for you to strategically think about social media. You're not just creating content to create content. You're really focused on creating a show, a format that you could continue and repeat, that essentially positions you as that go-to person and what you want to be known for.
Great, wonderful, good tip. Thank you.
Great information, AJ. Good question, Tess. Thank you. All right, other questions for AJ before we move along a little bit here? Janet, go ahead.
Hi, Neil. This is really great because not only are you sharing what you do, you're really giving an education about the whole space. I have two questions. One is, how many episodes of content do you create before you go live? Or did you?
That's a really interesting question.
That's a good question. It's like, you want to think of it as an iterative process. So when it comes to like a podcast, there's a rule that, you want to create 3 or 4 or 5 videos before you publish your podcast. When you're creating social media videos, whether it's like the short vertical videos that are on TikTok and Instagram, Reels and whatnot, you just post it as you get them. You could do it in a batch of 5 and post 1 a day, or you post every other day. This kind of goes into this conversation of consistency. You want to be consistent with what you're doing. And if you could maintain a consistency of 1 a day, then 30 videos a month, that's great. Or if you can maintain a consistency of 3 videos a week, that's great. Work on that. So you could film it in batches because everyone's busy and has to work in their business as well. This becomes an activity of when you're working on your business, right? And you want to carve out maybe 3-4 hours, and in that 3 or 4 hour time frame, you're batching content. You're creating 5 videos, 6 videos, 7 videos, and you're doing this every 2 weeks. That's typically how it works, and how even when we work with clients and clients are hiring myself and a team to do it for them, like 90% of the work, because it's still them. They still have to show up and be the star. But even in that case, we're continuing to film with them in batches of like 7, 10, so that way we have 2 weeks of content at a time.
Okay, thanks.
And you don't want to do too many, because if you just do like 100 or 200, then you don't learn from it and you can't implement the changes that you learn from, because some stuff is just not going to resonate, and you learn that pretty quickly.
Thank you. And the second question is, where's your advisors? So who are your advisors?
Like now or before, or just getting to where I'm at?
Right.
At first it was my cousin, Sam Chahan. He was a a very influential person. Mike Ferry's son, Patrick Ferry, was an influential person, more than Mike Ferry, because I didn't know Mike like too personally. But then Neil Schwartz, I've known Neil. Neil was a strong mentor for me for a really transitional phase in my career. Neil Patel came into the picture, and he played a very strong role in my career. Then I've had other types of mentors. I had a spiritual mentor named Pamela, who was like in her 80s and shared her wisdom and helped me go through like life changes. I have a
Wow.
business advisor today named Roy Camerano, who used to be the president of like some ink companies from back in the days. He's also like somewhere in his 70s or his 80s. Always people that are older than me, typically, that have like been there, done that kind of thing, has been
Mhm.
really important. They lived it, they're living it. Like Neil Schwartz is an example of a guy that's not only just has he lived it, but he's living it, and he's still living it. And I think that in itself is like a really fabulous indicator of somebody you want to listen to.
Thank you so
That was
much.
very nice. That was great. Let's keep talking about how great I am. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
How much
That was
time you
great.
got?
Good stuff. No, I appreciate it, AJ. I really do. I really do. It's frustrating when I meet people, not necessarily young, but people who could do well. This is an amazing business. An amazing business. I've said this 1,000 times before. No one would ever pay me the kind of money that I've earned and amassed over the last 50 years. No college, no real skills. You know, I went to the military. They didn't throw me out, but it was close. You know, those kinds of things. And I guess a lot of it has to do with the consistency and the discipline. So if I said to you, how important to you, I got 6 words here, and I'd like to run them by you. And then I want you to think also about the 2, 3 things that you would leave with our group before we go. So one of the words is urgency. How important is it in building a business?
I think it's extremely important in that, like, as an entrepreneur, you're your own boss. And if you're not creating the urgency to do things and get things done, it's probably not going to get done. And I think that's the reason why a lot of entrepreneurs need some kind of mentor, some kind of like pseudo boss
Need somebody to steer them off of the squirrels.
yeah, to get them to do the things that matter. Because a lot of people end up doing the things that don't matter, and then they're just like working.
Exactly.
Growing.
Exactly. So another word is attitude.
Yeah, I think attitude, you know, your mindset, your attitude, how you like come at things is key, because people don't want to work with people that have a bad attitude. Like, everyone's going through a grind, everyone has stuff that happens in their life, and if you could come and present yourself with a good attitude, people want to work with you. But if you have a bad attitude, it's just like the vibes are off, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You bet. You know, one of the words is approach. You know, how important is your approach to business, to creating content, etc.? Maybe even just an approach to a guru.
Yeah, I think approach is like how you're thinking about what you're about to do. And it's like think before you speak kind of thing. So it's like a plan before you act is kind of what comes to mind. And I think you need a plan, because a lot of people just post to post, and then they're like, ah, it's not working, or even, you know, whatever it is that they're doing. But when you create a plan, then you could at least execute on the plan, and then you can iterate that plan, and then you have something that you're doing that's very like intentional.
Intentional is another good word.
Yeah.
So how about let's use the word discipline. Let's end with that. You kind of explained how important that is, but let's cap it off.
Yeah, it's like discipline is the best definition of it I've heard is doing things that you don't want to, doing the things that you need that need to get done even when you don't feel like doing it. And it's like the biggest thing about discipline is what I was saying earlier, that it seems counterintuitive to the freedom that an entrepreneur wants, but ironically, it's what results in them getting that freedom. And that's a hard pill to swallow. I think that's the only way to put discipline, a hard pill to swallow.
I learned along the way that it was important to be able to say no more
Yeah.
often than you say yes. Does that
Yes.
fit in the discipline category?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
That becomes part of that squirrel, right? You're saying yes,
Yeah.
yes to all these squirrels, and you're like, which one am I gonna go find and chase?
Exactly, exactly. Well, AJ, this has been great. I want to finish up with you coming up with 2 or 3 things that you think of all the stuff you talked about, maybe all the things that you've learned in your life, 2 or 3 things that you could set us up to do or suggest for us to do over the next quarter that might help 26 be the absolute best year it's ever been.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like what I realize is it's not just about trying to be the best at what you do. I believe that it's about being the best at being seen for what it is that you do. And social media is something that I feel like has been very devalued over the years. Throughout my career, it was always something I was battling against the worthiness of it. And it was only recently that everyone kind of caught up to realizing, like, wow, it is that important. Even in corporate America, you have now CEOs that are hiring social media experts to help them communicate their message to the masses, because people like doing business with other people. And I think what's really important for you to do now more than ever is take advantage of this window of opportunity that we have. We're living in this age where there's AI everything, everywhere, and there's going to be AI people everywhere and always. But at the same time, people still will have a tendency to want to work from, learn from other humans. So take advantage of the fact that you could create videos and content and talk about what it is that you're doing in interesting ways, and it will be shown to people. So it won't happen immediately, but if you do it consistently and make it just a part of your day-to-day routine and activity, it will help you grow your business personally, professionally, and it'll help you personally in ways that you wouldn't even realize.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions for AJ? You guys got
Yes,
this
I
all
got a
figured out?
question.
Sorry? Go ahead,
I have a
Eddie
question
Berto.
for AJ. Yes. NLP is the language of imagination. What is NLP?
Neurolinguistic programming. So neurolinguistic programming is like a way of communicating and understand how people want to be communicated with. It's understanding that everyone has different types and styles of ways they either communicate with others or like to be communicated with. And when you understand and learn the different techniques and ways of doing so, it makes it so that people feel more in rapport with you faster. And that's what ultimately will lead you to doing business with people that don't know who you are or are strangers with you at first.
Non-linguistic programming. Okay, got it.
Neurolinguistic programming.
Just type that into
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, and it'll throw out 1,000 pages on the subject.
Okay.
Good stuff. Excellent. All right. Last question for AJ right now. Anybody? Let's pull it together. All right, everybody. AJ, you've made them all geniuses. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Thank
All
you
right,
for having
unmute
me.
yourselves. Unmute yourselves. Unmute yourselves. All right, let's give him a big hand. Woo! All right.
All right.
AJ, the man.
Thank you.
So AJ, one of the things that we do right now is we will, I understand you may have a hard stop and may need to move on, but if not, we're going to talk about what we learned from you today. So we're going to spend 10 or 15 minutes or whatever time people want to go with this on learning about understanding some of the things that you shared with us. I've got a couple pages of notes myself here.
Sure.
So, all right. So stick around for as long as you want. And again, we appreciate you. By the way, can you put the link to Amazon for your book?
Yeah, of course.
And some contact information for you if somebody wants to talk more about this subject?
Of course.
Okay, so what we learned from AJ this afternoon? What we learn? Let's go. Who wants to be first?
Oh yeah, just I like how you put it, like, not to post for like likes, but post to like if you're your own channel, like, because that's the reality of it, right? Like, who are you on social media? So I like how you like separated that for me, so I can just kind of like, don't worry about the like, just put the engagement or put the content out there. So that was great.
Good. All right. Excellent. Lito, anyone else learn something they want to? Eddie Berto, what did you learn?
Yeah, I learned there's 5 stages. There's 5 stages, and and I was learning about the creator economy.
Good.
So
Excellent.
we gotta know what stage we're on.
I like that. I like that. AJ, I too like the way you lined out you're a generalist, you're a specialist, you're authority, you're a guru, and then you're a guru to gurus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you really hit that because it's easy to follow and understand and see. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, you're part of the inspiration because it came from the Mike Ferry world, and and kind of seeing that that microcosm of what I realize is happening across everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, that's what happens. And there's and those of you that don't have mentors, go find some. Go find. You don't have to hire them. Go buy somebody a cup of coffee. You know what's interesting on this subject, AJ? I'll just talk to AJ. If you guys want to listen, that's okay. Is and maybe you've felt this too. I've never, when somebody comes to me, a youthful person, and if I've gone to somebody, I've never had anyone not answer my question. And I've never not answered when somebody says, hey, I'd like to learn from you. I'd like to buy you a cup of coffee, and maybe I don't have time for the coffee or something, but I would do a Zoom channel with them, or I would do something like what you're doing here and just share a couple of ideas. And most people love talking about themselves. Have you found that, AJ?
That I realized that early on as well, and I kind of remember hearing that as I've just was developing my career. People love talking about themselves because you're giving people in their heads all day long. Everyone's working in their own silo, and they're coming across and coming up with all these ideas and things, and they may not always have people in their family or in their inner circles that they could like talk about this stuff with. So if somebody comes to you and asks for advice and they're really interested in that industry, it makes a person feel really good. Like even as you ask me questions, I'm like, man, I feel good. So I think that's generally what kind of happens with people. So it makes it really easy. I used to like try to take people out to lunch all the time. Can I buy you a drink? Can I buy you lunch? Sometimes it's like, sure, I gotta eat. So why not?
Exactly. Now that's how I built the organization exactly on that. I was known as the guy when I was a manager. Maybe I wasn't even managing at the time. I go to a Century 21 event or go to a Mike Ferry event, et cetera, et cetera. And I would just go to people and say, can I buy you lunch? Can I buy you breakfast? Can I buy you a drink? You know, and then I would ask questions about them. Here's where people get in trouble. They ask questions about the guru, and they say, so how did you get started? Because when I got started, this is how it worked for me. In other words, they don't wait to get the answer. They tell their story. Do you guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah, because then people, they kind of try to dominate the conversation then and just kind of defeats the purpose.
100%. So I've learned that even though they start doing that, because I wanna share some ideas. It's what I do. I'll stop them and say, look, you know, what else did you want to hear? What else do you want to know, etc. Because people want to keep talking about themselves. Wow.
Yeah, and you let them talk more and more and more, and they kind of even sell themselves on you. And that kind of happens in sales conversations all the time, is like telling isn't selling, it's asking really good questions. That's why a lot of the
I never heard
scripts-
that before.
That's why a lot of
I
the
never,
scripts are like
AJ,
questions.
I got to write that down.
So it's weird how that works, but when people are answering questions, then there's this like perception as well of the person asking the questions becoming the authority. So then it just enhances that dynamic you have with somebody.
100%. Good stuff. All right. Anyone else have anything they want to share that they learned today? Nothing else? Janet,
Well-
you have something?
Well, I just realized I realized too that AJ is a curious person. Some people ask questions so that they can tell you what they think, but he is genuinely curious about other people, and therefore people like people who are curious about them. Not only do they ask you questions, but you're curious. You want to know about them.
That is such an important point, Janet,
I love that.
because we have a tendency of not being curious enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And some of the classes on the expireds that we talk about is just that. So I'm curious, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, when you sell this house, where are you guys going?
Yeah.
Right? But you can ask it a different way too. Same words and just ask it a different way. And that is, when you sell this house, hey, where are you guys going? Same words,
Yes.
but you're not going to get the answers you're looking for.
Yeah.
Janet, that was a great observation. All right, everybody, unmute yourselves. Let's give him a big hand. AJ, thank you.
Thank you, AJ.
Woo!
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, AJ.
Really, really good. AJ, this will be rendered in a few days. I'll get you a copy of it.
Thank you. Sounds good. All right. Great talking to you guys.
Take
All
care.
right,
See you guys
thank
later.
you.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you too, Neil.